start from the future and work backwards. This is so simple, but phenomenally powerful for anything that we want to do, even if it's as large as life design. Welcome back, y'all, to another reflection on the Daily Vedantic. Something that I've been asked a few different times lately. Maybe in the last week, 3 different people have asked me where to start with this philosophy. I will answer that question with this episode and this reflection, but I think there's even more at stake than thinking about where to start. But on the question of where to start with this philosophy, episode 1 of this podcast project is a pretty decent 15-minute summary of the entirety of the philosophy. I think it's 17 minutes to be exact. Yoga for Your Intellect, episode 1, another podcast project that I have on this philosophy with my co-host Joseph Emmett, who's been studying and teaching this for 25 years. He gives a great overview of the philosophy in a little bit of a longer form. Every one of those episodes is a longer form conversational format. Start with those. Super easy. It's just whatever device you're already using, you could start with those. If you're interested in the book that talks about this philosophy, 5,000 plus year old philosophy, from beginning to end, soup to nuts, in plain English, no woo whatsoever, Vedanta Treatise. I mention that all of the time. Vedanta Treatise. Just read the first 4 pages. It's now available on the U.S. Amazon store, and it's published in India, but it is available here. It does sell out often, so sometimes it's like $60 for a secondhand copy. But 3-4 pages into that, you can see if it speaks to you. But where to start? The question is really about where do you want to end up? This is a framework that our teacher, Swami, will mention so often in different lectures. And he mentioned it recently. I remember him talking about this at dinner at the ashram in India once, that he said every business person that comes through the doors, and some titans have been through those doors at the ashram. Ray Dalio would make like a yearly trek to go see Swami, and in the lectures that Swami gives, he'll mention his host in New York, of Raymond and Barbara. And that's the Titan Ray Dalio, runs, I think, the biggest hedge fund in the world, and talks about a simple framework that he mentions to every business leader that he interacts with, and it's start from the future and work backwards. So where to start? Start from the future. Work all the way backwards to informing what you could do or should do in the next hour. How does this framework actually work? Start from the future and work backwards. Or start from what success looks like on a project that you might be working on over the next 60 days. What does success look like? And work backwards from that. On a career goal that you might have 2 years out, start from success, start from the future, and work backwards. It might be a career milestone 5 years out. It might be a life design that you have for 20 years from now. Work backwards from that. The power in this is that you get really crystal clear in the future. Crystal clear on, all right, 60 days out, I'm planning this event for my company, and I want for everyone to have this experience, or to have this reflection after the experience. Walk away feeling X, Y, or Z. You list out the details. That's what success looks like, and then work backwards. Okay, to make those things happen, well, we've got to have this and this and this at the event. Visualize it. Think about it. Okay, to have those things, I need to reach out to 3 different vendors each to find the one that could fit our budget, to have this and this and this to happen. Okay, I need this person to help me organize and put that together. Okay, I need to reach out to them. You work that all the way back, and boom, you are designing the next hour, the next day, the next week. If it's 90 days out, then it'll help inform, okay, well, I need to do that on that third month, which means I need to do these things, have them all set in stone by the second month. And, all right, this month, I've got to accomplish this, this, and this. But where do we start? Start from the future and work backwards. This is so simple, but phenomenally powerful for anything that we want to do, even if it's as large as life design. Imagine 10 years out. What would the ideal day be for you? The absolute ideal day. Ideal week. Ideal rhythm in life. What is the absolute ideal? And then work backwards from that. I said by 40, I want to run a small office, small team, dealing with investing in startups, running startups. I want to do it in a way in which I can spend immense time with my family, maximal flexibility. Part of that is keeping the team small. I've run 100-person teams, and that is a realm of hell that I am not wired for. Running a small team allow me to spend immense time with my family, as much time as I'd like. That flexibility. I want to be able to do so well over the next 8 years, from 32 to 40, that at 40 I could decide to do something entirely different. I ended up putting on that list. I remember I want to have a place in Napa in the country. I was living in San Francisco at the time with my wife, and I was coming off of a big failure, by the way. So this was not like, hey, I'm in a groove and things are going well. I was coming off of a big failure, and part of that was not designing what the future should look like and just going at the whims of what should I do now? What should I do now? And I made that list. I listed off all of those things and kept the list pretty simple. I oriented towards flexibility, nature, time with family. I oriented towards not some crazy ambitious goal that would secretly tie me into chains of, I want to run $1 billion company or anything like that. And lo and behold, little decisions all along the way were made that made it more and more possible. Ended up now we live in Los Angeles instead of Napa. We live right by the beach. Get to spend a lot of time with our daughters. Very flexible work structure, and Magic Mind keeps growing, and yet it's a small team. And even that relinquished the reins of needing to run it day to day and brought on a really awesome co-founder, friend to be CEO and help with just branding as well as product formulation. This is way too much information, but all of this is to say, found my zones of genius of where I'm wired for that kind of work, and then relinquished all of these zones of maybe competence, but not what I was really energized by. You can accomplish anything if you don't care who gets credit. Relinquished control in so many different areas, and man, it has led to so much freedom. Even the idea for Magic Mind, which I've mentioned on the pod before, the last idea I thought I would ever start would be a beverage company. And yet just felt like my community was asking me for the stack of things, asking me for it. And again and again and again, I was like, all right, my entrepreneurial antenna is going up. I should probably lean into this service. Man, I've failed so many times, and I could fail in this again, but people keep asking for it. And it seems like there's a need, even though I was like, I have no qualifications for running a beverage company. Maybe I had some from starting other startups, but building software is very, very different. And man, has it been a learning lesson in many different ways of just how vastly different those kinds of companies are. But there was a very massive dose of surrendering any kind of control. I didn't list out the types of companies that I would start or the things that I would do. It was just small office, flexibility, time with family, out in nature, and then working backwards from all those things and making sure I wasn't making decisions that violated where I wanted to end up. And here is where people go so wrong. Is if you're only starting from today. It's like getting in, I think I mentioned this a week or two. It's like getting into a cab and being like, wherever, just go left up there and then we'll go, I don't know, a couple blocks, turn wherever we want after that, go right. Go a couple miles in that direction. Maybe we'll go a mile in this other direction. When you get into a cab, the first thing you do is you say where you want to end up. It's one of the most mundane things in an Uber. You type in, where do you want to end up, right when you open up the app. It's one of the most mundane, simple, but powerful experiences of how we continually end up where we want to be when you get into a cab or you get an Uber. It's because you start from where you want to end up and work backwards. So whatever big task you have, whatever big goals you have for your life, whatever projects coming up, whatever life design options go through your head, where to start from the future and work backwards. It can sound vague, but when you take pen to paper, you start writing out, what is the future? What do I want the future to look like? And start to work backwards. It is so profound. One of the reasons that this philosophy is called the practical philosophy, because so much of it is just so practical in our day-to-day lives. Like I always say, it's often called a manual for living life well. So practical in our day-to-day lives, in so many different areas of our day-to-day lives. And this is one of the most practical and one of the most powerful reorientations on how we can end up where we want to end up. And it all has to do with where to start, and that is from the future, and then work backwards. That is today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We will see you next time.